documentary. That was glossed over. That was ignored. Just like he is now. He lives 70 miles away from them. It's about an hour-long cab ride. Never seen his grandchildren. This show is packed with the kind of spurious claims and hypocrisy that have become the Sussex signature. We learned they began making videos about their heroic journey 6 months before their Netflix deal was even announced. And right at the start of a pandemic that was killing thousands of people every day. Their only concern was their own situation. So we had to flee the country for family privacy, says Harry, as we watch a $100 million documentary in which he flaunts his young children and shares private text messages, intimate photographs for the entire world to see. When it comes to paparazzi, I had more paparazzi outside my house when I was forced to leave my old job for disbelieving Princess Pinocchio's lies than I saw actually outside their houses at any stage of this documentary. Maybe their mob scenes are to come. We haven't seen any so far. In fact, all their claims of paparazzi intrusion in the 2 trailers turned out to be nothing to do with them. They weren't even at many of the events which were depicted. So forgive me if I don't think this is all a load of BS. But frankly, the biggest problem with this series so far is that, like the Sussexes themselves, it's dull, it's predictable, it's cliche-ridden, it's simperingly sycophantic. It's one long rendition of all their greatest whinges and a load of self-congratulatory nonsense. Harry and Meghan sold their royal souls to become reality TV stars, but they haven't got the charisma to carry their own sob story. They're now a grasping ex-royal version of the Kardashians, only with less class, less loyalty, and less brains. Harry and Meghan, the dreariest couple in the history of planet Earth, famously abandoned their royal duties for a life of privacy. They left the Goldfish Bowl of Great Britain for the camouflage of California, remember? Famously sheltered from the evil British press. And since then, they've kept an incredibly low profile, as they vowed to. If you excuse the massive book deals, the Silicon Valley startups, the preaching videos about well-being, the podcasts, the speeches, and the major network interviews with everyone from Oprah Winfrey to James Corden. But they've barely been seen or heard at all, have they? Well, on Thursday, they'll quietly and apologetically release their $100 million documentary series on Netflix. I mean, nothing says protecting your family like doing a reality TV, fly-on-the-wall documentary about every aspect of your family life for the delectation of the entire planet. Does it, Harry? Well, a braying pack of paparazzi photographers jostling for space to hound the happy couple. That's what we just saw, right? Childhood photographs clearly intended to evoke the tragic death of his mother, Diana. But those photographers we just saw weren't actually interested in Prince Harry at all. They were at the premiere of a Harry Potter movie 5 years before Harry even met Meghan. There weren't any royals there at all. This apparently sneaky paparazzo lurking above the Sussexes was actually invited there to cover their meeting with Archbishop Tutu in Cape Town. Another photo used in the promotions shows Harry's outstretched hand apparently shielding the couple from photographers. Only it's actually a cropped photo of Harry with ex-girlfriend Chelsea Davy, taken in 2007. And a press scrum shown dashing after the unhappy couple was actually chasing after reality TV star, one of their compatriots now, Katie Price, at Crawley Magistrates Court. Ironically, for a couple who've repeatedly sued newspapers for intrusion and inaccuracy, they've just put a load of whoppers into their trailers. That's before we even get to the main event.
When the stakes are this high, doesn't it make more sense to hear our story from us?
Oh, shut up. What do you mean the stakes are this high? Who do you think you are? Other than a latte-munching imbecile living in luxury in California while the rest of the world's a cost of living crisis, moaning and whining about an institution which gave you the titles on which you now trade millions of dollars. What are you talking about? What stakes are there, other than the massive, gigantic stake you're currently plunging into our monarchy over here? And as for telling their story, sorry, have I missed something? I thought you've been telling your truth, which is often a pack of lies, from the moment you abandoned this country. Well, today's new trailer doubles down on the last trailer, and there's more tears. Remember that clip of Meghan once showing us how she could cry like that at the drop of a little tarnished tiara? Remember that? She could do it like that. Just bear that in mind when you watch it. Did you get that one? And as for the shameful comparisons with Princess Diana, I remember Prince Harry being very, very angry about the media exploiting his mother for commercial gain. Yeah, what has he done with this Netflix series? He's used his mother to sell it. Could there be a more grotesque exploitation or a more hypocritical one than him using his dead mother's imagery to engender sympathy for himself again as the great victim in this world? I find it all puke-making. And I speak as someone who's actually in one of these things. I pop up. Yeah, me. And to my astonishment, I was being very nice about Meghan Markle. Let's have a listen. Oh, God, you wouldn't know the truth if it hit you around the back of your head. This gruesome twosome only survived by cashing in on what's left of their royal status now. I've said it before, I'll say it again tonight. King Charles should strip them of all their remaining titles and cast them out from any connection to the royal family. How could any of them trust them, as far as I could throw them? Because without it, they're just whining millennial windbags with a permanent victim complex, knowing that victimhood is what makes them all the money. The irony is earth-shattering, isn't it? Harry and Meghan are the Duke and Duchess of gaslighting themselves. The entire show is a cynical attempt to manipulate viewers into questioning their own recollections of reality. And if we learned anything at all from the first 3 hours of this $100 million wine-a-thon, it's surely that this dismal duo wouldn't know the truth if it smacked them around their smug chops. Let's look at their truth versus the actual truth. Meghan moans that royal advisors forced her to uninvite her dear niece, Ashley, from the wedding, the only member of her family that she seemed to be still talking to.
How do we explain that this half-sister isn't invited to the wedding, but that the half-sister's daughter is? And so, with Ashley, the guidance at the time was to not have her come to our wedding.
Yeah, that was a lie. Impeccably placed royal sources told the Sunday Times no such guidance was ever given. And that was supposed to be the show's big example of how Meghan really cares very deeply about her family. So deeply that only one member of that family was at the wedding, her mother. Not even her favourite little niece, Ashley. Meghan also sees she got no advice on royal protocol, forcing her to learn how to be a princess all on her own.
Joining this family, I knew that there was a protocol for how things were done. There's no class in some person who goes sit like this, cross your legs like this, use this fork, don't do this, curtsy then, wear this kind of hat. Doesn't happen.
Another lie. And by the way, Meghan, if you don't like me calling you a liar, just sue me and we'll go through all this in court. The Sunday Times discovered she was actually handed a 30-point dossier, studiously researched, brimming with information and contacts. Meghan later simpers that she never wore bright colours to show respect, because she's all about respect.
So I was like, well, what's a colour that they'll probably never wear? Camel, beige, white. So I wore a lot of muted tones, but it also was so I could just blend in. Like, I'm not trying to stand out here.
No, the last thing Meghan Markle would ever want to do is stand out. But it's all another lie. Photos taken by the evil, bigoted British press show her wearing pretty much every colour in the rainbow. The show opens with the claim that the royal family declined to comment on the series. That's another lie. The palace says it received one email from an unknown company, and attempts to verify it were flatly ignored. Even the story of their romance and engagement turns out to have been a series of whoppers. They told the BBC in 2017 they were set up by a mutual friend on a blind date. They told Netflix they met on Instagram. And what about Harry's modest proposal in their humble cottage kitchen?
It happened a few weeks ago, earlier this month, here at our cottage. Just a standard, typical night for us.
It's a cosy night. What were we doing? Just roasting chicken and
Roasting
having
a chicken. Trying to roast a chicken.
Trying to roast a chicken, and it was just an amazing surprise. It was so sweet.
An amazing surprise. It was so sweet. Well, according to Netflix, which is their show, it was actually a candlelit extravaganza in their walled garden. And Meghan was so amazingly surprised, she managed to figure out what was happening and tell her friend about it before Harry even popped the question. A small little detail, but rather like their claim, or Meghan's claim, that they'd been secretly married by the Archbishop of Canterbury in their garden before, 3 days before, the big televised wedding, which also turned out not just to be untrue, but had it been true, would have led to the Archbishop of Canterbury being incarcerated in prison. as with all things Meghan and Harry, it would seem, the truth just doesn't really exist in their world. It's their truth, their version of it. We'll go, Richard. Iman,
Yeah.
look at the front pages there, which is when their engagement was announced.
Yeah.
Where's the racism?
Do you remember that was before she actually said that the institution was racist? And that's my point. How institutionalised racism works is the minute you dare say that the institution is racist, everyone piles
stop
on.
Shouting.
That's what happens.
But you accept there's no racism in those media pages?
Because that was before she said that the institution was racist.
Actually,
after that moment, that's when everyone decided to pile on.
Actually,
and
what happened
as
is
a woman,
people began to pile on when she started having $500,000 baby showers in New York and flying back on the Clooney private plane. They started having a pile-on. When they used Elton John's private plane like a taxi rank whilst preaching about carbon footprint. They had another pile-on when they had other huge extravagant events they went to, and then when they're preaching about poverty on their Twitter account. Time and again, they were caught being rankly hypocritical. That was why the media coverage began to turn. Then there was all the stuff with her father. Many people felt that she was unnecessarily cruel to her father. People have since criticised his own behaviour. I accept that. But certainly, to start with, they ditched him. They dropped him. Harry's never met his father-in-law in his life. You know, he proposed marriage to this girl knowing what's going to happen and then doesn't do anything to protect the father at all. And so now she's disowned him. What kind of people put compassion on their website, as they do, as being at the centre of their core being, when they live 70 miles away from this guy who has not got long for this world, he's in poor health, all he wants to do is meet his grandchildren, and she won't have anything to do with it? That's not compassionate. And also the hypocrisy and the lies are not what I think are decent values in people. And I think Meghan Markle branding us a racist country and attacking the institution of the monarchy as racist.
It's unfair.
I think she
totally unfair.
She is what I would call a race baiter. If she doesn't produce hard evidence to support these incendiary claims, she becomes a race baiter, exploiting racism and the issue of racism to act as a kind of protective shield around her and to make herself extremely rich and famous as a professional victim. I've spent more time in Sussex than Meghan and Harry have in the last 2 weeks. Right? So, actually, a month. But they're never there. But they've got these titles which are given to them. That's what I mean about they trade off Duke and Duchess of Sussex, the royals, to make themselves incredibly rich. And I do wonder if there's a point where Charles goes, actually, you can't do that anymore. It'd be unprecedented, but why wouldn't he?
Yeah, but I think it's kind of irrelevant. I mean, no one really cares about the titles. If you strip them of the titles, they're still Harry and Meghan. They'd still be equally famous. And but
they wouldn't be acting as members of the royal family. Yeah.
I don't think they go around acting as members of the royal family.
Oh, they do. All the paperwork, all the letter headings, it's all from the office of the Duchess of Sussex.